ever since I had a live video with you guys, but I'm excited to be back this Wednesday. And guess what? I have exciting news to share with you guys. I got engaged. So that's exciting and not sewing related, but I wanted to share with you guys. So, in light of my new engagement, I do have a poll question for you guys. I am looking at doing something really cool for the bridesmaids that are going to be a part of my wedding. And so, my question to you is what ideas do you have for cool bridesmaids gifts that aren't just kind of like junk that get thrown away? And bonus points if they are DIY gifts or sewn projects. So, I'm curious to see your comments below. Okay, now let's see. Thank you, Adriana. I'm so excited. Okay, so that was my quick announcement, and now we're gonna get into the juice of the video. I have been seeing a lot lately in the different sewing Facebook groups and stuff that I'm a part of, people asking about issues with their stitches or their stitching looking weird. So let me show you a picture of what I am talking about. Um, like this. See how that stitching looks super strange? Have you ever had stitching that looks like this? And usually it's hard to know what to do, especially if you're a beginner, right? So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to troubleshoot this. Now, usually when people see stitching that looks like that, they immediately think, oh my gosh, it's the tension, and we need to change the tension, and everybody's scared about tension. So, first, I want to let you know that tension is not something that you should be scared about in sewing. That's number one. Number two is a lot of the time it's not actually a tension issue. So, in this video, we're going to go through what you need to check before you jump to the conclusion of tension. Again, we are talking about stitching that looks like this. Now, the first thing that you want to check when you get stitching like this is that you're holding the ends of your thread as you start sewing. This is helpful because if you think about it, after you've started sewing, the fabric, right, is holding those threads as they come out of the sewing machine into the fabric. And that's what keeps it all tight and keeps it coming out of the sewing machine as the pieces in the sewing machine pull on it to make the stitch tight. But at the very beginning, when there's no fabric to hold onto those stitches, the sewing machine is still going to pull on those threads in order to make the stitches correct. Now, if you don't hold on to the tails of those sewing threads as you get started, the sewing machine is going to pull on those threads and it'll just suck them out. Now, it'll make everything really weird and loose in there, and then you'll either lose your thread and have to rethread the needle, or you'll get stitches that look like this and you won't know why. So, number one, make sure that you are holding the edge of your threads as you start sewing. Number two, if that does not fix it, you are going to want to rethread the top of your sewing machine. And let me move this camera and show you why. So, we're going to use this sewing machine right here as our guinea pig that I'm going to show you. So, if you've paid attention to how your sewing machine works at all, you'll know when you move this knob over here, your needle goes up and down, right? But another thing that moves when your needle goes up and down is this little lifter arm that's usually in one of these cracks here. It's going to depend on what model sewing machine, if it's over here or over here. But you can watch, it's a piece that you put the thread through that goes up and down. And this piece is what does the pulling of that thread in order to make it so that it pulls the thread stitches tight. Now, sometimes when you're sewing, this thread will get unthreaded from this piece. if the thread doesn't go through this lifter arm, then there won't be anything to pull those threads tight. And so it just won't get tight and it'll be all loosey-goosey. So you want to always rethread. The other thing that can happen is in here is your tension discs. So I know that we're mentioning tension, but we're not actually going to change our tension yet. But what can happen is when you thread here, the thread could miss going in through those tension discs. And tension discs look kind of like cymbals. The thread is supposed to go in the center of the cymbals, and then it kind of holds on to that. And that works together with this lifter arm to make the um, thread pull tight. So what you want to make sure and do is when you rethread, you want to make sure that your presser foot is not down. You want to have it in the up position because when your presser foot goes down, that triggers those tension discs or the cymbals to clamp. And if they're clamped closed when you try to thread your machine, the thread won't be able to go in between them. So always, always thread your sewing machine when the presser foot is up. Okay, so if you have tried to hold the ends of your thread when you start sewing, you've tried rethreading and you're still getting weird stitches, the next step before we talk about tension is to change your sewing machine needle. Now, that can make a big difference if it is bent. The sewing machine needle won't catch the bobbin thread correctly when it goes down into the bobbin. So even if you can't tell that the sewing machine needle is bent, sometimes it can be bent enough to make a difference. So that is something that you want to check. Next, thing that you want to check before worrying about tension is your bobbin. Now, this step is going to be just for bobbins that go in from the top, like this machine you can see here. What you want to make sure, if you are familiar with these machines, there's no bobbin case. The bobbin just gets set in there. But the thread needs to be caught in a little hook that's down on this edge, and then it sticks there and goes directly up to where it catches under the presser foot. So if you look at your bobbin and you cannot see a line of thread from this corner to the center of your presser foot, then the thread has not caught in this little groove here, and you're going to want to take the bobbin out and rethread. So you want to follow the picture that it has on here, but the thread should be coming off in a way that makes the bobbin spin counterclockwise. And then this just drops straight in. You want to pull the thread over to that direction and then pull down and forward and across. And that's what's going to hook it in that little hook. Then when you use your top thread, oops, I just lost my presser foot. There, when you use your top thread to go down and grab this, you should see that your thread is going to stay hooked in this little hook, and you'll see it go across the bobbin here. So those are the 4 things you should check before worrying about tension. Now, let me show you really quick what this will look like once we get to the tension test. Okay, so here is an image that I have that shows you how things work. As you can see in the top, that's our correct tension. When a sewing machine is working correctly, the top thread and the bottom thread should meet and twist in the center of what you're sewing. As you can see in this picture, the top thread is black and the bobbin thread, the bottom thread, is the red. So in the top image, the tension is right on, it's perfect. Now in the middle drawing here, you can see that it's not meeting in the middle. It looks like the top thread is pulling the bobbin thread up from the bottom. Now, an easy way to remember this is more tension means holding tighter on the thread, which is going to make it pull harder. So, when you see something like this where the top thread is pulling the bottom thread up, that means that you need to make the tension tighter or less tight on the um, top thread. If you have a sewing machine like we just looked at with the top load bobbin, something that could cause this look of stitches is if you did not have that bobbin thread caught in that little hook like I just showed you, because it would just make the bobbin thread really loose. So moving down to the bottom drawing here, it looks like in this bottom drawing that the bobbin thread is pulling the top thread down. So in these top load sewing machines, it's not possible to change the tension on your bobbin. So in order to fix this, what you would do is you would increase the tension on your sewing machine. And I'll show you how to do that really quick. So just remember, if it looks like it's pulling the bottom thread to the top, you want to decrease the top tension. If it looks like it's pulling the top thread to the bottom, you're going to want to increase the top tension. And here, let me show you really quick what it looks like in real stitches. So here in this picture, we have the red thread is the top thread and the blue thread is the bottom thread. Here they've sewn through some thin fabric, so when it's correct, as in the bottom, you can tell that you can kind of see a little bit of both colors on both sides. The too loose in the middle, you can not see any of the bottom color in the top stitches. So the top color will probably make some little loops on the bottom of the sewing, and then opposite with what it looks like too tight. So that was a little bit of a download for you guys. Let me show you really quick how you change your tension if it comes to that. So this little knob right here, see how it has numbers from 0 to 9. There will be a few of them that have like lines between them, usually between 5, 4, and 3. That is the normal setting to run your tension on. But if you're needing to increase tension, it goes along with the numbers. So as the number gets bigger, your tension gets tighter. So you would move it up to a larger number. If you need to decrease, you will make it go down towards 0. Now, if you've already done all of the things that usually would fix this, that we talked about earlier in this video, and you've cranked your tension all the way up to 9, and it's still being weird, what can happen is that these little discs, remember those symbols I talked about? There's a spring in there that holds these together. If you have an older sewing machine or a machine that's been used a lot, sometimes that tension spring will break and it will make it so that the tension discs don't go together. So if you've messed around with your tension and everything else that we talked about in this video, then it'll be time to go to a sewing machine repair place and then they can just fix that little spring in there for you and everything will be fixed back as new. So if you get through all the things, get to the tension, can't fix it, and it still is frustrating, then it's probably because that little spring broke. So don't throw the machine away, just go to a repair shop. Okay, let's see. I know that that was a lot that we went through, but let me think really quick and see if I have anything else that I forgot to tell you guys about. Um, I don't think so. Let me see if we've got any questions here. Jackie says hi. Hi, Jackie. Also, I see that you said thanks for the information. You are so welcome. It's my pleasure to share this stuff with you, and it really makes sewing a lot easier when you kind of understand what's going on. One other question I did want to talk about is what about bobbin tension? You kind of see this mentioned a little bit around the sewing chat rooms and stuff like that. If you are working with a sewing machine like the one that I just showed you guys on that has the top load bobbin, you won't be able to adjust bobbin tension. However, if you have a sewing machine with the front load bobbin that goes into the case and then you put it in the front instead of in the top, you can um, adjust bobbin tension. Now, let me see if I have one of those kinds of cases here, and I'll show you how you know if it's good or not. Oops. I found one, but I can't get it out of the sewing machine. Oops, that's why. Sorry, guys, I'm getting this out of my industrial machine here, and I forgot that I had to pull up the presser foot. Okay, so this is what a bobbin case looks like. If you have a sewing machine with one of these, then you will need to check that the tension is correct. As you can see right now, I'm holding this by a string, and it's not moving down. If you hold it like this and it goes whoop and gets longer, then your tension is too loose. If you can hold on to this and jiggle your hand up and down, well, and then this thing doesn't move, then your tension's too tight. So I see that I can't get this thing to move. So my tension's too tight. What it should do is when you jiggle, it should go, ooh, it should go down just a little bit and get a little longer. That's how you know it's perfect. Now, in order to adjust this, let me see how I can get you guys to see this. Okay, so on the side here, see that screw right there, kind of. Anyways, if you look at yours, you'll see a screw. As you tighten the screw up, it will make your tension tighter. As you loosen the screw, it will loosen your tension. Don't loosen a lot at a time because these are very touchy. So you want to go a tiny bit at a time and then retest it. And it's just called the drop test, and that's the easy way to do it. The other thing that I want to mention, which I'm glad that I remembered, excuse me, I had a hiccup, is that you do not necessarily have to change your tension on your sewing machine as much as a lot of people want you to believe. Your tension, once you get it set up so that it works right, should be able to stay the same no matter what you're sewing. The thing to remember is that you want to make sure you have the same thickness of thread in the top thread and in the bobbin. So it's important for you to always make sure that you load a bobbin, thread a bobbin with the same thread that you're using in the top. That way the tension stays the same. Because if you accidentally sew with a thicker thread in the top and a less thick thread in the bottom, then since they're thicker, they're going to work with the tension settings in different ways. Usually a thicker thread will be held tighter than a thinner thread. So you want to balance those out on both the top and the bottom so that you don't run into issues. As long as you make sure that you use the same thread thickness on your top thread and your bobbin, once you get your tension settings set, you should never have to touch them. So, I hope that that was helpful. Let me see. Jackie asks, how do you use the little threader on your sewing machine? So, my sewing machine that I have here today does not have a threader like that for me to show you, but let me show you what I think you're talking about. So, on a sewing machine that has a self threader, there will be a little thing right here that you can use to thread. And what you'll do is you'll just push the little lever down, and then a little thing will go through your needle, and then you can lay your thread across it and then let go of this lever, and it'll suck the thread through. Now, that's hard for me to explain to you since I can't actually show you. So, what I will do is if you can post a picture of your sewing machine and the threader you're talking about on the in the group, the sewing group, then and here I'm gonna put a group link for those of you watching on YouTube, so you can join that group by going there. But Jackie, if you go ahead and put a photo of that in our group, then I can comment with a video showing you how I use mine. I just don't have it in this studio that I'm at today, so I can't show you. And then also, I can go ahead and add that to my list of things to put in the live video next week. Okay, so I'm about to sign off, guys. As a reminder, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. I will get to answering those, or if you have anything that you want me to talk about or show you how to do in the next Wednesday's live video, let me know, and that way I can get it in the video so that we can talk about it next Wednesday. And I think that that's it. I will see you guys next Wednesday. And in the meantime, have so much fun sewing.